They believe the city's greatest assets are big ideas and bigger dreams by citizens. TedX Jacksonville preparing to shake things up in the local conference with hundreds of participants. A trio of contributors joining us today. Plus, American territory not feeling like American citizenry, the long road of recovery for Puerto Rico, and the Jacksonville connection to rebuilding our neighbor's land. And one of our favorite guests, the inspiring Donna Orender, as she describes the way to turn girls into powerful women and leaders of the future on This Week in Jacksonville. And good morning. Welcome to This Week in Jacksonville. Thanks for joining us. You know, Florida is the closest state to Puerto Rico, and Governor Rick Scott came to Jacksonville this week, describing efforts underway to try and help in the crisis to our southeast.
We have federal resources there, FEMA's there with us, we have charities there with us, we've got our school districts helping us. We're going to do everything we can to take care of anybody that's coming here permanently or, you know, just for a short period of time from Puerto Rico. Your heart goes out to people. I think sometimes about what my mom would go through with 5 kids with no money to go through this, and you just feel so sorry for them. But I know Florida is a state that we take care of people. We work well together.
Chris Hand is with us, and former chief of staff in the mayor's office here in Jacksonville. You were so close with Senator Bob Graham and all the service that he had over the years. Tell me some of your observations here as we have this crisis, and Puerto Rico is so close to us. There's a lot it seems like Florida can do for our neighbors.
Well, absolutely. Look, this is a close neighbor of ours. These are, 3 to 4 million Americans living on Puerto Rico. And of course, the devastation has just been heartbreaking. Not only the human toll, but the loss of infrastructure. And a state like Florida is uniquely positioned to help. And it's heartening to see the public and private and nonprofit sectors kind of pulling together, including here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, so some of the things we see in Jacksonville, let's talk about that. I've been covering stories with Crowley, other entities through Jacksport saying, hey, let's get moving as soon as we can to get some of these really vital supplies down there to Puerto Rico, right?
Well, Crowley is a great example. Crowley Maritime, based here in Jacksonville, has a huge presence in Puerto Rico. So obviously they have a great interest in what's happening there, but their employees and management have really pulled together to provide relief to the people in Puerto Rico who are suffering right now. But again, it's not just Crowley, it's also in the public sector. For example, Jacksport as well, and JEA. Obviously, utilities know how these situations can unfold. JEA has dealt with them here in Jacksonville recently. They've played a huge role in trying to provide relief to Puerto Rico, which is really a devastating energy and electricity situation with most of the island still out of power.
Yeah, and I'm sure many of you saw that Vic Micolucci from Channel 4 has been down in Puerto Rico, and some of the things that we're seeing is beyond San Juan or some of the metropolitan areas there. Out in the rural areas, it could be a really long time before they get some of those supplies, get electricity back.
It's really a heartbreaking situation. I think what's important, there was recently a New York Times story that indicated that about half the people surveyed didn't realize that Puerto Rico was part of the United States and that they're American citizens. These are Americans there. The situation with Hurricane Maria is no different than the impacts that Hurricane Irma had on Florida and Hurricane Harvey did in Texas. Devastating impacts where we as Americans need to pull together and make sure that our fellow citizens have the relief and the ability to recover.
Now, I want to continue looking at some of this video, which is the scenes of the devastation here in Puerto Rico as we talk. What about the federal response here? Because there's been some criticism. Hey, as you just mentioned, these are our people. These are American citizens, and the response seems to be kind of slow.
Well, I think that's been part of the problem with the federal government's response, not just the speed, but the seeming differences with how they've responded to other hurricanes. In other words, with Irma and with Harvey, they immediately waived the Jones Act to allow foreign flag ships to come in to other ports. They were slow to do that with Puerto Rico, allowing people to use emergency assistance to buy food and other emergency supplies. That waiver was slow for Puerto Rico compared to the others. Hopefully, there will be a quality of treatment going forward because, again, these are American citizens just like those impacted in Florida or in Texas or any other state that's impacted by violent tropical weather.
Yeah, isn't this amazing that we've had these 3 different hurricanes this year, all devastating impacts in the different areas that they've struck. But talk to me a little bit about infrastructure. How do you get that going? I know the Secretary of Transportation, Elaine Chao, is down to Puerto Rico trying to get a handle on the steps that come next. it almost has to be a situation of desperation. Where do I start? Where do we start rebuilding here?
Well, remember that this could not have happened at a worse time for Puerto Rico. They've been coming off a financial crisis where they've been trying to figure out ways to retire debt, raise money for some of the infrastructure needs they have. Their utility in particular was considered sort of behind from an infrastructural standpoint, needed to be updating. I think that's going to sort of be, look, the first job in this situation is make sure people are safe, they have food, they have shelter, they're protected from the elements further. But as they look at these infrastructure issues, I know a big focus is going to be the energy grid in Puerto Rico. How do you help get that up and running so that people can have access to electricity again?
Well, and you mentioned that that survey said that maybe half of the people didn't realize, oh yeah, American territory there. I think this is another educational opportunity. I think a lot of people hear infrastructure and say, it doesn't really impact me. Well, now you're getting down to the nitty-gritty, and they see that having roads that work mean the difference between possibly life and death for some of these folks who need those supplies, and you get them shipped into the port there in San Juan, and then they can't get out. And they're starting to now, of course, but that's a huge factor, isn't it?
Well, it's no doubt a huge factor. Another huge factor, you mentioned earlier, Kent, that close relationship between Florida and Puerto Rico. There's already a large Puerto Rican contingent living here in Florida, potentially hundreds of thousands more kind of following the storm. I think this is a real chance for Florida to show how welcoming it is and to make sure those citizens who do relocate from Puerto Rico to the mainland, which again, they're part of the United States, so it's like moving from one state to another, that we welcome them with open arms and help make sure that they have the infrastructure here in this state to help the recovery there or start new lives in Florida if that's their intention.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen from Governor Scott and other people in Florida is saying we want to make that happen. I guess it'll be over time figuring out how best to do that. Chris, I appreciate your insights. I'm going to ask Chris to stay with us, and you're going to hear from him in a moment, but our conversation is shifting to a local event that is about conversations. We're taking a look at TedX Jacksonville and how it'll delve into some of the hot topics of today. That's next on This Week in Jacksonville. Stay with us.
It's Empire Today's biggest sale, the 50-50-50 sale. 50% off carpet and flooring, 50% off padding and materials, and 50% off installation. That's right, half off your entire project. You can save thousands. Empire's 50-50-50 sale won't last long. Don't miss 50% off carpet and flooring, 50% off padding and materials, and 50% off installation.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today. I'm Robert Palmer, president of RP Funding and owner of the Jacksonville Armada. Interest rates have unexpectedly dropped, creating an opportunity to lower your monthly mortgage payment. You can take advantage of this huge potential savings by refinancing with RP Funding, and as always, I'll pay all your closing costs. I've paid over $20 million in closing costs for homeowners just like you. So now, let me pay yours. Go to rpfunding.com or call today. Go Armada.
Everyone at Harold & Harold lives in Jacksonville, works in this community.
I grew up on a farm in Florida. If it teaches you nothing else, it teaches you hard work.
I grew up in Clay County, and it's a pleasure working with people that I love and trust.
You will have someone who drives the same roads as you, that attends the same churches as you, that understands the uniqueness to our city.
Call us or visit our website, Harold & Harold. Don't settle for less than you deserve.
What if we told you the best internet for your home was also a great value? Introducing Xfinity XFi. Discover how much more you can get out of internet with the speed, coverage, and control you need throughout your home. Call 1-800-949-1010 and get started with Xfinity Internet for just $19.99 a month for 12 months. Xfinity delivers the best in-home Wi-Fi experience to keep everyone rocking online. With speed you can count on for an incredible price. Or upgrade for access to Xfinity Wi-Fi and stay connected with millions of hotspots nationwide. Call 1-800-949-1010 and get started with Xfinity Internet for just $19.99 a month for 12 months with a 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee. Xfinity XFi will change the way you Wi-Fi. You can view all the connected devices in your home and manage Wi-Fi to any device at any time. See for yourself how much value you can get out of internet built to keep up with your family. Call 1-800-949-1010 today.
There's only one neighborhood that matters. yours. And after sunset, there's only one local helicopter able to bring you breaking news, Sky 4.
I'm heading to Arlington now.
So we've done something no other local station has. Day and night coverage from above. Cutting-edge night vision cameras, taking you deeper into the night when no one else can. Street-by-street views, bringing you news from your neighborhood.
There's a traffic alert in Clay County.
Look up Jacksonville. Sky 4, day and night. You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
And an important part of the application process for becoming a U.S. citizen is passing a civics test covering important U.S. history and government topics. So there are 100 civics questions on the naturalization test, including some geography, that is. So that's where we're at this morning. Can you name one of the 2 longest rivers in the United States? Bonus points if you can name which one is longer and where it starts. So we'll give you answers after this coming segment at the beginning of the next one. So we're looking ahead now to TedX Jacksonville. Chris Hand is sticking around with us for this segment as well, joined by Doug Coleman and Dr. Manal Fakhouri. I appreciate you being here, and we've been talking off camera. Really excited to talk about this. Doug, you're organizer for this event, so maybe give us the summary. What is a TedX Jacksonville event like is coming up this month?
Well, TedX Jacksonville is about sharing ideas that are relevant to the community today. It's an all-day event that may seem like a big commitment, but believe me, almost no one wants to leave because it's such an engaging and inspiring and enlightening chance to hear from great speakers.
What makes it engaging and enlightening and exciting? Because I hear, you know, an all-day sort of thing, and many of us have probably been to those sorts of things where I've got a speaker for 90 minutes and I get a break and another lunch, and this is different. There's a lot of content here, right?
Well, there is, and it's a diverse content, and it's in today's world, we are bombarded with information. As you probably know, we're receiving hundreds of times what people did just a generation ago in terms of daily information. So we need to try and sort through and find the things that matter, the gems, the well-presented things. And I think that's why TED and TEDx are so popular, is that we distill great ideas into compact, well-presented presentations by our speakers. And so everyone is a good talk about an important topic that matters in the community, and it's interspersed by great entertainment and great food and what have you.
Yeah.
So, and then the audience matters. We try and make it inspiring and engaging for them as well. We have activities like virtual reality experiences, the opportunity to meet, discuss, post their opinions about topics. So it's a very involved process for people that are curious and interested in the community and in ideas.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. I mentioned to you that I hadn't been to one yet, and I'm planning on attending. So organizer Doug, speakers over here, Dr. Fakhouri, tell us a little bit about what you're going to share. I know some of your background is pharmacy and this opioid crisis that some people are just now getting on their radar. This is what you're going to present about.
I will be, and interestingly that it is just getting on the radar for some people, but yet the nation's been dealing with it for the past decade, and really even for the last 2 decades. But I think, you know, if people hear the real stories of individuals, I think it'll just punch the air right out of your stomach. So if you don't think you've been affected by it, you will be. You know, it's guaranteed. It's much like cancer. It's touching each and every one of us. And it's something that it's not even just, it's really global. You know, it's a situation that involves the drug companies, the process of how the drug works, how the brain changes, how, you know, even without any intention, you become addicted to the drug, and then what you have to do to deal with that.
So your presentation in 10 or 12 minutes, right, isn't going to be just a, here's what an opioid is, and here are the people. You're really looking, you're refining this. What's the specific drive of this presentation?
Great question. I think what's unique perhaps about me presenting this topic is I have my doctor of pharmacy degree from the University of Southern California, but more interestingly, I've become very passionate about leadership, and then that took me into the prison where I spend now 6 days a week there. And it's really the intersectionality of all those experiences that gives me a chance to speak about a different way to deal with the epidemic.
Yeah, we've taken some efforts here at our station and our station groups, the other stations as part of our ownership group across the country, to try and help people understand the things that go into this opioid crisis. But I'm looking forward to hearing what you know by being there helping people and working in the prisons. Chris Hand, we've spoken over the last year or more. You've even rewritten a book with Senator Graham, Governor Graham. Tell me a little bit about what you're going to be sharing.
Sure. Well, first about the day itself. Look, this is an event that takes a lot to put together, so a lot of credit to Doug Goldman and Sabine Perways and others on the TEDx team for putting this together, because it doesn't happen by itself. The other thing that doesn't happen by itself is effective citizenship, and I'm going to be talking about that. How do we as citizens build and flex our citizenship muscles to make government respond and listen to us? There's a perception out there that we as citizens don't have the power to make government listen, and so I'm going to be telling the stories of Americans around the country who have done exactly that, used the skills of effective citizenship to make government listen, respond, and act.
Yeah, that is something that people say, well, what can I do? So I know that's a passion of yours and Senator Graham, is to tell people, here are the things that you can do. And so I can imagine that there might be an intersection just on the two topics that you're speaking about. Doug, is that part of the deal too? Do you set an agenda based on, hey, we've got a theme and we want all of our presenters to kind of interconnect?
Not really. It's interesting that how much that happens, though, because once the speakers meet each other and share their thoughts and all, we do find a lot of common ground and related interests that apply. So, you know, it's always good to see that because it reinforces both talks.
Yeah. What's the best outcome for each of you after we do this day-long conference coming up this month?
For TEDx Jacksonville, it's informing, inspiring, and engaging the community to consider ideas that might make this a better place to live.
I like that idea. What about for you?
I think for me, it's one is the awareness, and then from there is giving them something that they can do. So feeling like you have been empowered, that there's an action step that you can develop and then cause change. Because eventually, if someone was to present this very same topic 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what would we be saying? Would we be saying that we've made great strides, that it was something of the past, or would we say, oh, here we are, it's, you know, 30 years later, we're still talking about the opioid epidemic?
Yeah, that would be discouraging, wouldn't it be? Yeah. Chris, what about for you? What's the best outcome after TEDx Jacksonville in 2017?
Well, I hope that people will leave understanding that we as citizens are the backbone of our democracy, and that people will leave and decide, I want to identify a challenge in my community right here in Jacksonville, decide that they want to have government respond to that challenge and address it, and then use the skills of effective citizenship to see that goal to a successful conclusion.
Yeah. And so I want to share some information specifically about the TEDx Jacksonville conference. It's subtitled, We the People. I like that. Here's the date and time. It's coming up on October 14th, so coming up in just less than a week for you, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., because as Doug was mentioning, it's an all-day sort of event and really an enjoyable experience. It'll be at the Florida Theater. So there's some still tickets available, is that right?
There's still some tickets available. What have you. And I don't know if you have time to mention it, but I want to point out that all the speakers, the performers, and all of the TEDx team, no one is paid to do this. This is a community effort to do something worthwhile in our community.
Well, and Kent, great. And the other thing, just to reinforce what Doug just said, is, look, great community results come from good community conversations. And one of the main reasons TEDx is so effective is that it inspires those conversations. So for anyone in Jacksonville who wants to engage in that dialogue about subjects important to the future of our community, there's really no better place to do that than TEDx Jacksonville.
So you just touched on why this was so exciting for me. It's because we get to talk about having great conversations, and that's certainly an effort for our show on these Sunday mornings. I appreciate your time. I have a great conference, and I'll see you there. Is that all right?
Sounds great.
Thank you. All right, well, coming up here, we want to talk about becoming a leader, and it can start early. Strong women reaching out to the next generation. That's our topic in 3 more minutes on This Week in Jacksonville. Stay with us.
When you're in control of your finances, I just feel like you're in control of your future. Our region's banker, Stacy, has great advice for the business and our personal finances.
You walk in, they treat you right. It makes you just want to keep going back. We're ready to take our next step.
How is affordable dentures and implants so much less expensive?
It's all they do, so they're amazing.
But who has time for all that?
Everybody. They made these while we waited. Took one day. They'll treat me okay, like family. I can't believe I'm doing this. We should have done it years ago.
For affordable dentures, implants, and extractions, call 1-800-DENTURE today. One call and one day can change your tomorrow.
It's hard being a smoker. I've heard all the lectures.
You know, you shouldn't smoke.
I know all the signs. I've seen all the faces. I know the money it costs me. But that doesn't change the fact that it's hard to quit.
Quit your way with Tobacco-Free Florida. With free patches, text messaging, emails, phone, group, and web coaching. Call or visit tobaccofreeflorida.com.
90% of all nursing homes in America have at least one employee with a criminal record. At daycares and even doggy daycares, cameras monitor activity all day long. Not at nursing homes. I'm Matt Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Our loved ones are warehoused today at record numbers, and the abuse goes on. Bed sores, falls, malnutrition, and yes, even death. Call us for more information about your legal rights. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
They have big.
You really are a genius.
Brains.
I Googled how to do that.
The Big Bang Theory.
Tune in tonight to The Big Bang Theory at 9 and 9:30. Brought to you exclusively by Xfinity. Call 1-800-XFINITY today for a great offer.
You know what's being built in St. Johns County? Lots of new housing developments. And one of the fastest growing communities in the country. You know what else is built here? The Weather Authority forecast. From a truly local team who knows how the ocean and rivers impact your weather. They understand how microclimates affect temperatures from neighborhood to neighborhood. In St. Johns County and on your street. The Weather Authority. Always watching. Always tracking.
And here's the answer to your Citizens Quiz. Can you name one of the two longest rivers in the United States? They both start with M, by the way. Yeah, mighty Mississippi, nicknamed the father of waters, used for trade, food, water before Europeans came to America. The Missouri is the other, and then here's your bonus answer. The Missouri's longer, starts in Montana, eventually flows into the Mississippi. All right, so welcome back to our show. Donna Orender is with us, and we love to visit with her. She's the founder of Generation W, and today we're talking about the effort called Generation WOW. And if you don't know about that, this is a program focused on teen girls.
It is.
Free. And it seems like this has the power to change lives, right?
It's been incredible. I mean, the genesis of this was at W, we had a panel of young teenage girls. It was really simple. There was over nearly 1,000 women in the audience. We said, okay, we want to know who you are. What's important to you? And then what do you need from us?
You're saying that to the teens.
This is what, to the teens. And we prepared 6 weeks, you know, so they would feel comfortable. And that discussion actually was the genesis of WOW. It was so impactful, not only on the girls, but the women who were there. And WOW really, really what it's about is the leaders of today, right? So right now I think we have over 100 women. We still need more mentors reaching out and helping to shape the leaders of tomorrow. It's been incredible, and it has been growing exponentially.
How do you find the teens who are going to come? How do you find those mentors who are going to invest a little bit of their time and expertise and heart into those teens?
Well, you know, originally we reached out to individual schools, and we had every school in Duval County represented, plus beyond. I mean, like, schools show up, like, you know, the tom-toms go out there. And now we've become very involved with the school. They actually connected back with us. We have relationships with counselors and principals at all the schools, and the girls. You know, the best part about it is the girls talk to each other. And that's how we know that we're doing something that's needed and right, because they're driving the growth. It's not us saying, you need to do this. They're saying, we want to do this.
How many girls are involved or have been, and how is it growing, or is it something you got to limit how many people can participate?
Well, we were kind of capped. We were at the Robinson, the beautiful theater at UNF, and so we had 400 total. Fun. Last year we moved to the theater with a little trepidation. We had over 650 people show up. This year we'll expect it to grow more and more so we can handle more girls. We have to raise a little bit more money to support it as well. So we have over 450, and now what's really new, we've got this great leadership of Atia, who's going to be our executive director. The girls started their own clubs. They loved it so much, they now have WOW clubs. They took it back to their school. So we've written curriculum. The curriculum will be accompanied by a book. Actually, we'd love to come back and talk to you about that. It'll be released in a couple of months, called Wowsdom. And Wowsdom is really our observation and engagement with the wow of our girls, the wisdom of our women. Whilst them.
Yeah, I like that. It's catchy. So one of the things I'm curious about, you said you need more mentors. How do you find the women who are going to mentor these teens? And what are you looking at? What kind of experience does that person need to have in order to invest in some of our teens?
You know, it's really about life experience. So what happens is when the girls sign up, they sign up what they're interested in. And when you get there, so let's say you're interested in news or journalism or communications, you get a green shirt. Let's say you get the green shirt. We have women who have had experience in that. They get the green shirt. And then at the end of the session, which is all about the positive and possible, high energy. This year we're having Dr. Crystal Johnson come back. She's one of the highest ranking women, African-American woman at NASA, who speaks about STEM and that important. Melissa Nelson will join us this year, our state attorney. Mary Kelly Palka from the newspaper, all under this banner of being what you can't see. Cool. And at the end, this is how the mentoring is. It starts with this walk. Who doesn't like to walk and talk? And we conclude with a meal. And from that, relationships build. It's not about being the perfect mentor. It's about being a connection for a young girl as we teach people that when you make connections, that's where the richness of life comes.
That's for dang sure.
Right?
Yeah, that is a great point. I want to make sure that people watching know how to participate or how to get involved here. So Generation Wow 2017 Jacksonville. It's Wednesday, November 1st. It's 2 p.m. until 6:30, that 4.5-hour block there. Lazara Performance Hall at UNF campus. And down at the bottom there, we've put where you can register. It's genwow2017.eventbrite.com.
Yeah, registration is really important so we can track you. Yep. All the girls get a really lovely gift bag. The women...
And that's you can register through October 27th, I believe, is what your website there. So if you're interested to get involved, then now you got the tools to do that. Donna, great to see you.
Always, Ken. Thank you so much.
Best success on that. All right, and This Week in Jacksonville, it airs each Sunday morning at this time. So coming up, we're looking ahead to a visit this month with State Senator Jack Latvala. He's a Republican candidate for governor in Florida. They're going to be pretty important in the coming legislative session as well. I'm Ken Justice. Thanks for watching on air on Channel 4 and online at newsforjax.com.
Now, more than ever before, more people get their news from News 4 Jax, Jacksonville's #1 source for local news.